Welcome back. So this is chapter 2 of the oil smoke lesson, and in the previous chapter we set off a play blast, and this is what we have. So it feels very nice. I like the speed of it. I like how fast it's moving. This is exactly the turbulent smoke I was going after. The forms are pretty nice. It's similar to the forms we saw in the reference footage in the introduction chapter, and this is pretty good. I'm happy the way it looks. So right now I'm under the lighting section in the fluid shape node, and I'm going to be playing with the directional light settings just for a bit. I'm basically just roughing numbers out, and you're never going to get this on the first try, but just try to rough numbers out until your lighting matches your actual light setup in your scene. So I think that works pretty well. So I'm going to go with a value of -6 in Z, 0.8 in Y, and 10 in X. And that just gives me a better visual representation of my light source. It's not actually lighting my fluid. My directional lights are going to be doing that, but by me adjusting the directional light in the viewport, I can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like when I render it. So I'm taking a quick render right now, and I'm taking a look, and that's what we have. So it took 11 seconds. This is a resolution of 150, and it's pretty promising. So let's go ahead and increase our temperature scale. Right now our temperature scale has a value of 1. Let's raise that to a value of 2. Now what we're doing basically is we're increasing our temperature. The temperature scale, it multiplies your temperature values defined in your grid. So this is a great way to add a little bit more temperature. You could always, for visual purposes, to make it appear hotter, you can increase your input bias of your incandescence graph, or you can also go back into your emitter and increase your heat. Just pump out more heat. So great. Let's go ahead and minimize this render view, and let's scroll down here. Now I was thinking the previous play blast, if you noticed, our smoke was moving nicely, but it didn't have that much variation. We were pumping out a value of 100 in our density, and I think we should try to key that. By us keying that over time and animating that with a post-infinity curve will allow us to get a nice density pattern that feels more natural, that will match our reference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to key value of 100 at frame 1. At frame 10 I'm going to give a value of 50. 15 I'm going to give a value of 50 as well. And finally at 20 we're going to key that at 100. So let's zoom in here for a bit. So I had curves, my view infinity option was selected. Let me go back in and show you guys where that's at. Under view, just select on infinity and then you'll see your infinity curve. So right now in the post infinity I selected cycle and I just flattened out my curve. So now what that's doing is over time our values are going to be changing from 50 to 100 every 20 frames. So that's really great. This is very helpful. This is a trick that I like to use. Sometimes I hook this up to my temperature, hook it up to my fuel, and the more creative you get when you try to simulate a real life simulation, you're going to be very successful. So here's a play blast of that new density pattern compared to the previous one, and you really can't tell. You know, it's very noticeable once I show you. I'm going to line up frames and compare the height, but let's try to go to frame 40 at the top left. This was the previous play blast. So let's go to frame 40 and look where your smoke is to the top of your screen. Now let's go to frame 40 with our new keyed simulation, and you see how our speed is controlled. We have more variance in our speed. We have our forms are a bit different. And over time, once you simulate this over the course of 300 frames, it'll become very noticeable, and it'll feel natural. It will be closer to the reference that we're going after. So I'm very happy. I'm happy with this, and you can go in and you can make your key parameters even more extreme than what we have. We have our values clipped at 50, and the maximum is set to 100. So you can go in and even take this further and make your values 5 or maybe 0, and just see what kind of smoke effect you get. So I went camping for the first time this weekend with a couple friends of mine, and we actually ended up getting lost. So we gathered a few pieces of wood. A buddy of mine had gasoline in his backpack, and I had matches in my pocket, and we created this awesome smoke signal effect. And we were in desperate need of help. Actually, that never happened. I'm just kidding. But basically, that's the desired look we're going after, that smoke signal effect. So I'm going to do a quick play blast. I set my resolution to 200, and I'll be right back.